My number one tip to change your entire life: do not pick up your phone for the first hour of the day. I realized that this silly little habit of not picking up my phone first thing in the morning was not only changing me, but it was changing my family and it was changing my children, which is everything to a mom. Welcome to the High Vibe Life podcast, where we are obsessed with all things manifestation, neuroscience, personal growth, and quite simply, living a life beyond our wildest dreams. I'm Moira Casava, author, speaker, podcaster, manifestation, and mindset master. Since getting sober 25 years ago, I've helped tens of thousands of women break through and achieve massive levels of wealth, joy, and freedom. Now it's your turn. Let's dig in. Hello, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the podcast. I am going to give it to you today. Super short, super sweet. My number one tip to change your entire life. So guys, I do trainings for hundreds of people over the years, thousands of people. And these are people that kind of come into my world and, might be with me for a year, might be with me for, a 12-week training or something like that, or a 6-month training. This is what I always say in training number one when I talk about this one thing. I always say, listen, if for some reason we never talk to each other again, if for some reason we never communicate, if for some reason you decide that this training or this mastermind or whatever it is isn't for you, please take away this one thing, because it has the power to change absolutely everything in your entire life. So I don't want this to be lost on you. Okay, are you ready? Here it is, drum roll. The number one thing you can do to change your life extraordinarily: do not pick up your phone for the first hour of the day. Do not look at your phone, scroll social media, check your email, check your messages for the first 60 minutes in the day. Now, why is that so important, guys? I could literally talk for an hour about all of the reasons why this is so important, but for me, in a nutshell, it has to do with kind of two different things. The biggest is that we are reacting to the world. The second we pick up our phone, whether it's social media, say we click up on Instagram, we might think like, I didn't go on that fabulous vacation like she did. Comparison game, right? Or we might be thinking, oh my gosh, I need to create content like that. Or, oh, that's an idea. Maybe it doesn't even have to be a negative emotion. It could be like, oh my gosh, that's an idea. I should do that for my social media, and I should do this. Or we're opening up our email. Oh my gosh, I have to respond to this. I have to respond to this. Okay, I need to do this today. I need to do this. I need to do this, right? We're thinking about, how do I respond to that email? What do I say? What do I need to do? What about our messages? Immediately, we get messages. Obviously, when someone messages us, we are supposed to respond to them, right? So we're thinking about our response. How are we responding to these emails? How are we responding to these messages? What is our emotional, our mental response to social media, to this YouTube video, to this TikTok, whatever it is, right? Even when we're laughing about something, we are in reaction, right? So response and reaction being the same thing. We are reacting to something that we are putting in front of us, right? We are not, on the other hand, controlling what we're feeling and what we are thinking, right? So we want to have at least 1 hour of the day where we are dictating. We are dictating our thoughts. We are dictating what we are consuming, whether that's music or something better, like not better than music, but something positive, I should say, like personal growth, right? But when we just randomly open up our phone and start tapping, we are at the mercy of the world. We are giving away our power. We are giving away control. We are giving away everything. You have to own the first 60 minutes of the day. And I always say, if you own the first hour of the day, you own the next 23, right? It gives you such a firm foundation going into the day, right? you anchor into your emotional state that you are choosing to feel, right? If you're doing a gratitude list or if you're listening to something positive, you're anchoring into the emotional state that you want to start the day on, right? Do you want to start the day on the emotional state of inferiority or less than or insecurity? Or do you want to kind of puff your chest up a little bit and go like, gosh, I'm going to do that proof journal and I'm going to remind myself why life is actually working in my favor. I'm going to ask myself questions like, what am I excited about today? What are the most important 3 things that I have to do today, right? Think about your goals. Think about your vision. But here's the science about the other thing that actually happens, right? So we've got these brainwave states, beta, alpha, theta, and delta. When we are in deep, deep, deep sleep, we're in delta. When we just start to wake up, we're in that theta state where it's almost like not fully conscious yet, right? You're kind of daydreamy. You're kind of in between worlds almost. And so from theta, we go to alpha, which is awake, but still very relaxed. Awake, but still very relaxed. And then really when we shift into like, okay, now I'm consciously here and I'm doing my day, right? I'm starting my day. That's beta. So what happens, I really want you to understand this. What happens when we pick up our phone, we go from that like delta wave, deep sleep to picking up our phone, we go right to beta. We skip our brainwave states that we're supposed to go through, and we're missing the magic. Guys, when you're in those middle brainwave states, that's when like your subconscious mind is open to the world. That's when you can really start to envision and attract what you want into your life, right? That's where you want to do your vision work. That's where you want to do your gratitude. That's where you want to do your meditation, your visualization. If you're trying to go literally from delta to beta when you wake up because you're picking up the phone, you can't, it's almost impossible to go back, right? So you're like, oh, comparison, to-do list, anxiety, fear, like all this, like, you know, kind of frantic state. And it might not even be frantic, but it's definitely like, whoop, I'm here for this. And then you're going to go, okay, now I'm going to go visualize. It's real tricky to try to get back to those states that you just wiped out, right? So you have to do this, guys. I'm telling you, it's the biggest thing you can do to change your life. Here's the thing. I know that so many people are like, oh, but it's my alarm clock. It's my alarm clock too. My phone is actually my alarm clock. So I am guilty of this, but not guilty. It's not a bad thing that your alarm goes off and you literally hit the side button. I didn't pick up my phone and open an app, right? Your phone can still be your alarm clock. I mean, in a perfect world, it's not. You can keep your phone somewhere else and actually have an alarm clock. I had that for a while. My alarm clock broke. I defaulted back to my phone. But here's what my morning looks like. I wake up to the alarm. I hit the side button, and I do not allow myself to unplug it. It stays there. It stays there. I don't unplug it. Okay, I go out to the kitchen, I make either a coffee or a matcha or a morning, some type of supplement drink to kind of start to just flood my body with nutrients, and I sit down for my morning process. I'm not here to tell you what your morning process needs to be at all. It should be different kind of for every single person. It should also ebb and flow with what is speaking to you emotionally, right? If you're in a rut with your morning process, then whatever you're doing isn't the right thing to do and you need to switch it up. But for me, it's always my proof journal, always, always, always first and foremost. So I'm writing down how life is showing up for me. I'm asking myself those powerful questions. What am I proud of myself for? What am I excited about? I'm reviewing my goals and my vision, my future proof for the week. I'm visualizing. And then I go into either it kind of forks in the road here. I either listen to something on personal growth wise, and that is sometimes I keep my iPad in my kitchen so I'm not tempted to grab my phone. So I'll listen to that through Audible on the iPad. Granted, all the apps are on there, but for some reason I'm not as quick to go to them on my iPad as I am my iPhone. And so I'll either listen to something or read something. I love to actually have like a hardcover book. There's something that just sinks in a little bit deeper when I'm actually forcing myself to read, a printed page. So I love to read, and then I'll go do my workout for 30 minutes. So there's my hour. Right? Sometimes when I say there's a fork in the road, sometimes I will put my AirPods in and listen to an Audible while I'm working out. I tend to be able to do that if I'm lifting weights. I cannot do that if I'm doing cardio. It's just way too, I need too much brain power to get through the cardio. So again, my personal growth that I'm listening to in the morning, and I always say 10 pages or 10 minutes. Obviously, if I'm listening during my workout, it's longer. But doing those things completely sets me up for the day. But here's the thing, right? I'm sure you guys have heard this, that we have, X amount of thoughts a day, tens of thousands of thoughts per day, something like 80,000 or something. And 99.9% of our thoughts today, we thought yesterday. We literally thought the same thoughts yesterday. So in a way, we're just in this robotic, responsive, reactive, thinking the same things, going through the same motion. And what happens when we take that hour, what happens when we introduce personal growth, we're introducing a new thought, a new idea, a new philosophy, a new perspective, a new angle. And what I always love to do in a perfect world, love to do, so this is kind of the cherry on top for me, is if I read for 10 minutes or 10 pages and then I go into my workout and I haven't looked at my phone, because this is the only way it happens, is during my workout, I'm thinking about what I just read. I'm thinking about that philosophy. I'm thinking about how it applies to my life. I'm thinking about that perspective. I'm thinking about how I could do that better with my children. I'm thinking about how I could be a better wife. That doesn't happen if I'm thinking about what I need to post on social media and the email I need to respond to and the DMs I need to follow up with, because I picked up my phone. The only way that gap, those new thoughts happen is if I haven't picked up the phone, I put something good in my brain, and I have the space to contemplate that. That's how you start to change. That's how you start to evolve. That's how you start to have an entirely new life. And I'm going to wrap it up with this and tell you that I discovered this kind of process about 10 years ago, and I started doing this, and I had no idea how much it was going to change me. So what would normally happen is, I'm going to be real with you. What would normally happen about a decade ago is I would walk downstairs and I'd be grumpy, and, I had small children at the time, and I'd be irritated with the dishes in the sink. I'd be irritated with the mess. I'd be irritated that, my husband didn't fold the laundry. I would be frustrated that the dishwasher wasn't unloaded, whatever it was. It was like my brain would wake up and go, okay, what can we be pissed off about? And I would feel that emotion, and it would be directed, right? I would be frustrated with my husband when he came down the stairs. I'd be irritated, not every single morning, but a lot of mornings, right? Or the kids would wake up and I'd be in that emotional state of frustration or impatience or overwhelmed, right? As a mom of young children, I was always overwhelmed. And so here's the crazy thing. Here was my actual experience. Okay, I'm going to do this silly little thing called not looking at my phone for an hour, reading 10 pages. And I didn't realize that I was kind of, 10xing that by going to work out and then thinking about what I read for an additional 30 minutes. But my husband would walk down the stairs. And guys, I can remember the day this happened. I saw him and I was like, he's just the best. I'm so grateful. And literally my brain was like, what thought just went through your head? That's not usually what you're thinking, right? My kids would wake up and I would be thinking different thoughts about them, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh. I would walk into their room, and instead of saying come on, you got to get up, let's go, we got to get breakfast, we got to brush your teeth, we got to get dressed, which was normal. I wasn't this horrible mom. But instead I would walk up to their room and I would just snuggle them for an extra second. I would just be a little bit softer because I was happier. I was in a different emotional state. And I remember as this was happening, I was like, oh my goodness. My whole home is different. My family's different. The car ride to school is radically different. And what I'll never forget, and I've shared this many times because it was so crazy to me, which is now crazy to say because it's so automatic for me, but a decade ago it wasn't. I remember dropping my 2 little kids off at school, and there was traffic, probably because of an accident. And guys, I will totally admit, like, impatience is one of my character defects. Like, I'm like, just go a million miles an hour. So I'm super impatient with the world around me sometimes. And that morning, my daughter was like, Mom, we're going to be late. And I'm starting to freak out. She's picking up on, my energy, which is the normal energy. And I just looked at her and I was like, babe, but think about it this way. Like, we've got to send prayers. Like, there's probably an accident up on the road ahead. If we had left a few minutes before, it could have been us. Like, we have to be so grateful that we're not the ones in the accident, that we're just stuck on the road behind him. And we're going to get to school when we get to school, and everyone's going to be late today, and it's just no big deal. And that was my truth. Like, I was really feeling that. Like, I was sitting there thinking all these things in my mind, like, thank God we didn't leave earlier. Thank God. Like, there's somebody in an accident right now. Like, I hope they're not hurt, and I'm sending prayers. And this is like all going through my head when she says, like, we're going to be late for school. And so as I was sharing this with her, she just looked at me and she was like kind of wide-eyed, and she said, that's not what you usually say, Mom. And it was in that moment that I realized that this silly little habit of not picking up my phone first thing in the morning was not only changing me, but it was changing my family, and it was changing my children, which is everything to a mom. So I hope that you take that one habit, at least try it on for size for 7 days. Force yourself into this habit for 7 days and just see how much it changes your life. Thanks for joining, guys. I will see you next week.